Anyway, so yeah, as I was saying, so then the thing is that one group, let's say for example, which is something that I say you must never do, and I've said this in the group in the classes as well, is like to ask what do you think or what is your opinion on. That's not a call out. That's too vast. It's too widely spread. You're going to get a lot of listeners will have a lot to say, but they'll have nothing to say to you. You understand? Because it isn't it isn't specific. So, for example, I can't give the marks there. I'd have to take away the six, let's say the 6 marks from, let's say, the responses, because even though there were responses, they weren't. There will be responses to an incorrect, like an incorrect call out. You understand? So that's what I'm saying to you. That's why the loss of marks was quite vast and quite wide. Um, and I did, like I said, I did warn that there's a lot of, like, to do the AMTs, a lot of work. I get that, I mean, I appreciate that you guys went through the process and got that done, but you must also remember that to get that done constitutes, let's say, 5 marks. You understand? And then obviously subsidiary, and let's say another subsidiary 10 marks for re-engineering the playlist, which again, like I say, only one group did. um, and again, they didn't even do it correctly, because the thing is that there weren't any total marks. You understand? So the thing is that the marks had to be deducted for that then as well. So anyway, look, the thing is, again, as I say, with every assignment, it's done, it's dusted. Take the marks that you have, and then now enter this particular one here, which is an individual assignment. Okay, and gain, like again, I will repeat what I've said already, which is, again, like, you got to like pester me about what you're confused about. This one especially is something that the students really need to understand. It's the podcasting one again. You've done it last year, whatever it may be. I don't know why Teddy's not coming in, but I'm admitting it anyway. Yeah, okay. So the thing is that, like like with the podcasting one, right? If you go and I'm going to say this, like I say, off the cuff immediately, and we'll go into the brief now as it is. Um, Sorry, let me just see what is going on here. Okay. All right. Yeah. So, come on, man. Why is no one just admit all? Yeah. All right. So as I was saying, come on, man. Someone a second for this thing to admit. Okay. All right. So as I was saying, like with this, this one is. I'm gonna pre-warn, like you cannot take the the articles we give you and then completely just reprocess the article and call that a podcast. Okay. So as I go through this particular brief right now, you must really listen to what I've got to say, and how you're going to construct these podcasts. You understand? And we're going to do a little bit of a, kind of say, like a little bit of a workshop here on how your thinking needs to be. So I'm going to ask you some questions. You answer me back what your thoughts are about podcasting, whatever it may be. Then, like I say, we'll get to the lesson, and then we'll call it a day from there. But I'm going to do it, like I say, as one whole lesson. I want to move. Let me just quickly share the brief. Okay. So as you would know, you obviously have the brief available to you. Um, where is this thing now? Here it is. Okay. Okay. So hoping that you can all see that. Right. I'm just gonna, because I'm gonna minimize this number. I can move that there. It's fine. I can see what's going on. Okay. Let's go through this brief. All right. And again, so this has to be submitted 5th to 9th of June. So within that week, I'll be overseas, right? So I'm going to be leaving for Australia in the first week of June. But the thing is, I will be available, obviously, um, for like because I mean, we do things virtually, so it's fine. I'll be available for that week before, because again, I leave. I'll be here because I actually leave on the third, on the second, third. So I'll still be here. But during obviously your submission week, you're more than welcome to contact me. Just note that the time difference is 8 hours, and I will obviously be available for you to call me and we can chat, whatever it is. So just to note that there's nothing that'll change or that'll affect, like obviously the quality of obviously work for you to be missing out or anything like that, in terms of being able to contact me. All right, so so it is about podcasting, but the thing is that we give you 20 marks that are kind of for makala, you know what I'm saying to you? Like it's free marks in what I consider is free marks. It's stuff that you know already because you've done this in second year as well. And to once again know, we've seen this paragraph a million times about how a presenter must read everything, watch everything, know a little bit more about everything, hang out with more people, and obviously create like different conversations at any one point about any one thing, about any one perspective, and so on and so forth, right? So we wanna hear in the first question test you on how you come together with show prep, right? Okay. So design a running order for your show on BMH Radio. I have supplied you literally for like with an example of what I put together as prep. Do you understand, right? And I've supplied you with that in the I'm saying in the WhatsApp group. You can go have a look at that, but we will go again because we are busy with programming. I'm saying to you on air stuff, and so we will be looking at that for like the foreseeable future. We're going to be carrying on with on the on
Yeah,
air.
sorry to disturb you, but someone, Kamo is saying he is in the lobby.
Oh, okay. Let me just quickly check. Yeah. Okay. I see no one. I'm saying to you, there's no one here. So maybe he's in the wrong lobby. You must just enter at the correct place. So yeah, are you having a look through the WhatsApp group? Yeah, I don't see anything again. So it's he must make sure um that it's in the correct, because I mean everyone else is, yeah, this is the correct link. Okay, let me just have a look and just see. I'll double check across here. Yeah, there's nothing else. I'm saying to you, there's no other room available. Um okay, so let me just click again on the link that is correct. Okay. All right. Let me continue here. All right. So within the prep sheet itself, and I can pull up. No, I actually can't because I don't have a copy of it here. I'll send it from my WhatsApp and stuff, and I'll put it up there. And again, once again, we'll go through what we've got. All right, but anyway, you've got to include the elements of news, traffic, sport, your music sweeps, your spots, your imaging, three features slash benchmarks, voice links, and explain each of your feature benchmarks in detail, right? So for a 2 hour show to have three features is actually that's a lot, man, because the thing is, again, you must remember that within every hour we have five links, okay, that are available to us. We should have assigned, let's say, two call outs, which would constitute to four links, because obviously you want to do the call out, you want to get the response, obviously, in another link. So let's say we minus, let's say, four from that. We're left with 11 in there. The other 11, at least about four of those, 4 to 5 easily need to be admin links. So stuff like so your teasers, stuff that you're obviously using as teasing to the next segment. Um, we want to obviously be able to measure, balance that across different clocks so that there is a breadth, between content heavy links. Obviously, the news, the sports, the traffic needs to be like at the top and the bottom of the hour, just as we've done in class, just as I've sent those clocks or the half clocks so that you can obviously construct the rest, as I have sent those to you. And then again, you can include the rest to be features. Features can be standalone. What does that mean? A feature, if it's standalone, means that it takes one link. It doesn't require two links for it to execute. I'm saying you're more than welcome to obviously use a teaser beforehand, but then let's say a feature that stands alone quite easily is like an interview. So let's say you have a feature like a health feature or mental health feature, and every show, obviously, like you must, again, I'm going to repeat it again, you should know this already, but a feature is something you do every show at the same time, right? So let's say you are doing this mental health feature. It always is you interviewing somebody. It'll be, let's say, at quarter to the second hour, like let's say quarter to the top of the second hour, which is a good time to actually hold, let's say, a standalone feature. And let's say another feature could be a two-part feature, again. So we're thinking about the links to be able to fill the links in a balanced way. Uh, it's like a three for me, three features are overkill, okay? But it will fill up your clocks, okay? I would really go with, let's say, one feature that has two links, obviously. So it's going to be like something fun where you're going to ask obviously certain stuff, and then the next link you'll get some voice notes, whatever it is, to respond to. And I would do the other two as standalone features. So the one feature could be, let's say, you doing street vox. Now, street vox means like you're going to go to people on campus and they're going to get their opinion on something or their response to something. And then again, I would do an interview for the other one. But again, these are things that we can chat about, definitely. But remember, again, like you're doing the prep here. So the running order is, again, how, like, where are you going to place what in this case. So it does not require, like, as yet, we're going to look at the rubric as well, just to make sure that it doesn't require the actual content. Okay, do you understand? You've got to get the running order of the timing and where everything belongs correctly. And obviously, again, because you know how to do music rotation, your music sweeps must be accurate, and then obviously labeled with the correct, obviously the correct, category that you've now come across. Okay, so look, when you do explain each feature or benchmark in detail, it's super important that you do exactly that. In other words, you've got to break down how the feature slash benchmark works. Okay, so I want to use the word feature instead of benchmark, because benchmark is more descriptive of news, traffic, sport, where a feature is then more obviously something that is created quite uniquely for the show, so that you don't get confused between the two, and you also use the terminology correctly. So, but explaining how the feature works is telling me exactly, I'm going to do this first, then this happens, then we take a break, then we take some callers, then we play some voice notes, then we go out. Do you understand? And you'd give an example of it, because that would then show like your understanding to me. You understand that what you have laid out in terms of your structure can be well executed with an example of. Okay, so that is where the 15 marks will come in, and obviously we'll look at obviously the rubric to see how this actually goes. Any questions so far on that over there? Any questions at all? Nothing. Okay, let's come on then. Okay.
Yes, I do have a question.
Yes, go ahead. Yeah, tell me.
Would, for example, Can a feature be like a game, for example?
Yes, it can be. It can be. Remember, it's something. It's anything that you can do. You will. A feature has a skeleton. Do you understand? The skeleton will allow for dynamic content to be created every single time you run it. So, for example, like I say, the most common features and the most successful features are music features. I don't want you to do that because every music feature has been done to death. Do you understand? And will continue to be repeated for the rest of radio time because there's a rotation kind of, there's like a rotation concept to music features, because you can't really get more original than where they've gone to with music features. So once again, like I say, a music feature is like, for example, playing I don't know. Again, we always say the now and then because that is one of the most popular and also most common and also most bland music features. But it does work. So you play the original and you play again the cover. You know the cover, and people now choose which one they like. As in better, they don't even have to choose. You can just play the two back to back, and then it's kind of just like a music consumption feature. There are, let's say another music feature which I don't want to get too creative with it, but like what a nice idea is to kind of take, let's say, lyrics and then execute them in a poetic fashion, so like poetry, and then have people guess like which song it is. You understand? But you must go quite like you must take like something very um difficult, like for example like a techno song, or like something very that the lyrics are not so clear, you understand, but the beat is actually really clear. You could also do the opposite of that, which means play only the instrumental and have people guess which song it is, you understand. Like there's many things that we can do as music based features, you understand, but we push for you to do something more original in the sense that you got to think out the box and say, like, let me not make, when you come up with ideas creatively, it's your worst enemy is to make it complicated, right? So complicated doesn't simple doesn't mean that it is of simple mind. In other words, it's got to be this basic vanilla kind of concept. It's not about that. It's about how you construct the feature to make it like very easily consumable, enjoyable, and obviously easy for people, and a want, and very kind of like provocative to for people to want to actually take part in it. You understand? So you have to, like, you got to look around you. uh, Say, for example, excuse me, like what is some essences of student culture? I mean, you literally went to go do some research now. Like we can spin off something based on that. Tell me anything that came up from your surveys that you found was quite eminent in terms of like describing student culture, or student ethics, or student mindsets, anything that I can turn into a feature for you. Does anyone want to try and remember and guess? Um, so I'm just going to go straight from I'm just going to straight from left to right. So Nkosi, tell me what you found that was interesting within your findings of the surveys that described anything about the student. You can go ahead.
Um, so I'm not really sure, but I think what
Yeah, the tell me.
like the students were just not into the survey that much. But when you ask them about, we asked them about if they like interviews, and what is it that they would like change about interviews.
Okay, yeah.
A lot of people raised that the interviews like sound to like they really rehearsed sometimes, and they're just not natural. and also that they run for too long and then they end up like having unnecessary conversations, and also that the presenters tend to make everything about themselves rather than the guest, and they also ask the same topics to
Yeah.
like different personalities. I think
Okay.
that was
Okay. So
that
what I'm
kind of
gonna,
stood out
yeah.
for me.
Okay. So you're doing semantics, in other words, the way things are being done, which all of them are valid. I mean, like that, and in terms of all of those things should be applied to the execution of. I'm gonna take the concept of an interview, and I'm going to then change it to something like, for example, I'm gonna call it worlds collide. Okay. So I'm gonna be like I'm gonna speak to two people that are on complete opposite spectrums of, let's say, media, and to get and with this interview, I'm going to find common ground where they can actually, let's say, collaborate together and create something cool and new, or you understand. So, for example, I would take a musician and, let's say, a graphic designer, or I would take an animator and I would take a radio presenter, or like obviously a radio practitioner. And you understand what I'm saying, Joe? So I would create a brand new concept out of something that's been done a billion times. You understand? And stay away kind of from big names, and kind of try to it's definitely, I don't want to. Again, we're trying to break everything that you just said. So, for example, like that repetition, like the being able to put two people that are I'd say like in terms of their difference, volatile. They are, because they don't share the same journey. Okay, when I say in terms of like what they're learning for skills or whatever it is, and we can talk it. I could, like we can talk. We can even rename it as collab. You know, so in other words, maybe the feature is about showing how different media practitioners can collaborate together to form really cool and great stuff, you know. I could further that feature by, let's say, having them worked already on something together, like for a week before they came on, and then actually revealed that to, let's say, the public via social media. Obviously, it could have been online, like let's say something that would play out on air or whatever it may be. Do you understand? Whatever product they might have come through, and then described like the different processes of how to obviously master certain skills in different, obviously, like spectrums of a practicing media professional, and bring that together. And that's a really cool feature. I mean, I like it. I've changed it enough to get to a comfortable space where I know it's going to work. It's going to make some really cool stuff, and we definitely have that kind of surprise factor to it. Does do you do you understand? Do you understand what I mean by taking some like coming up with features, and coming up, yeah? So that would be a feature, okay, and then making sure that you find some kind of brand new angle by kind of splitting it into, or adding it, or doubling it up, or again, kind of like I say, colliding it with something out of the ordinary, to make something fresh or new. Like, are there some, are there is there anyone that, I'm gonna go to Teddy. Teddy, tell me something like a feature that's at the top of your mind. Anything that you would say or do. Anything? Okay. Angie, I'm gonna go.
Repeat the question.
So I'm saying, just give me. I just want to see if off the top of your head you've got some feature ideas. You understand? Anything that you can spitball and say something. You understand what I'm saying? So I would say, oh, but I have an idea about this. Don't always go, like, for example, I want to do a feature on mental health. It's too broad. It's not specific. It doesn't serve a purpose. You understand? Because it's there's no creative angle to it. You understand? So I'm gonna use I'm do another example, and again, because I'm spitballing, it might refine itself over my conversation right now. So if I'm thinking about, let's say, I want to do something that's obviously focused on mental health. I want to do something specifically for the students, but I don't want to do the rigmarole, which means the kind of the repeat and what the rinse cycle repeat of what has been done before, which is student struggles and how to deal with and whatever it is. I would like to maybe counsel. Do you understand? It's kind of basically Oscar man, but now we're talking about like specifically for student and mental health. You understand? So that could be an angle. It's not really hitting home for me right now. So maybe I could do something different with that as well. Let me give me a think. Let me give me a moment so I can just think. Um, I would um okay, so let's say okay, so specific okay, so what I would do is like I would find this very helpful, and I think I mentioned it before, is like I would call it like red alert, you understand? And the mental health feature would be about focusing on certain, like every time we do it, certain red alarms, you understand? That one would need to take heed and notice of, that lead to bigger problems in your mental health and your mental stability. You understand? And that's really cool because to know, we can talk about, let's say, certain behaviors that change, the ways that, let's say, you find that you might close up to or interact with, like in terms of social environments or social etiquette, whatever it is. And I would call that would be a really nice one for me. I like that. There's definitely a lot of potential for growth there. And then we can also have, like, like if I want to spice it up, which I'm not going to do it right now, but I can do, like, obviously, when people have like success stories, so coming out on the other side, that I could add to like a back end of that feature and be like, okay, great. We want to obviously hear, and close off the feature with some great, obviously some great success stories in terms of people that have overcome like mental blocks and instabilities and obstacles, and that would make for a nice little colorful end there to kind of like polish it up quite nicely. Okay, so that's what I'm saying to you. So there's two ideas, for example. Who can give me anything off the bat so that I can work with it with you, so you can see the process of saying, okay, this is not working just yet. There's something that's missing. There's something cool here, definitely, uh that is potential. I'm going to go back to Angie. Angie, do you have anything that you can think of as a feature?
So in the surveys we did, some of the students like mentioned like the BMH radio being a platform where they could showcase their talents.
Okay. Okay, that's okay. I just don't, the only thing with the showcasing of talents, right? That really has to be a showcase. So you can call it showcase, which is nice and simple, and it explains, the when you do, let's say, a feature name, it's got to have like some kind of very clear description as to what you're about to do. But you really have to showcase, like, for example, like we don't want only people who sing. You understand? Like, we want all the different types of talents and sects of talents that BMH students have to offer. Do you understand? So let's say we do have a graphic designer. Like, how will you showcase that on air? Well, obviously, like, you can showcase it like online in terms of like social media, whatever it is, and everyone can obviously have a look at this great portfolio that we're focusing on, and definitely do some nice Insta reels and whatever. But on air, that person has to obviously be like, we have to speak about the process of like being a great graphic designer, multimedia, animator. Like, you got to pick up some cool stuff and not just always go for the singer, rapper, like, you know what I'm saying, to whatever it may be, you understand, freestyler. That is where the boredom factor comes in, because if you do listen, and this is a continuous thing, and we say this every year, ever since BMH has been created, like, this continues on and on, as if only an artist, as in a musician, again, or some kind of sect from there. So even someone that's, let's say, like a producer, it's always done, it's continuously done, and it keeps on getting done, which means they even bring, obviously they bring from outside, and then consider that like a big deal. It's not a big deal, because it's being overdone continuously, and so trivializes the entire concept of bringing in anyone at all, you know. And again, no one's doing it in a fresh angle. So for example, like this, these people need to be creating some kind of like newsworthy reason why they're there, even, you know. So it doesn't just become like a showcase of musicians, but rather like, oh, like they just, I mean, they, whatever it is, like it got a thousand plays, or 100,000 plays, or 5,000 plays on Spotify, or this or that, or like they were given like an like an accreditation, let's say, credit on one of the platforms, because like their music charted. Like, we don't have we don't, when you do listen to BMH, you're not getting any of that. So definitely that's okay, you can showcase, okay, but know that it's been done, the attempt has been done before. But then the thing is that there is no follow through, which is something that you can bring to, obviously, when I say follow through, the concept needs to have follow through. So again, in terms of it being sound, you know, and it being, again, a skeleton where dynamic options are available to you. Okay. All right, so this is all in preparation, actually, like for well, it is in part preparation for the next question, which is, guess what? Podcasts, as I've said to you before, you're required to do 2 podcasts this time, obviously, in addition to like what you have supplied there. This is an individual assignment, as you know. So the podcast needs to have an intro that lays out the facts of the topic, showing a deep understanding of these facts and the topic on a whole, followed by the opinion on the topic and ending of a closing statement and a question. This is, please, okay, okay, I'm going to go through this, but this question concept, hey, must not be confused for a call out. Okay, so this is, it's almost ridiculous to put in the question as part of the brief, because it confuses students time and time and time, and it has been confusing them every single year, because they always end like the one thing is, one, the podcast is far too structured, right? So we get a lot of podcasts that are beginning, middle, and end, which that is obviously a construct, yes, but the thing is, there's no fluidity to the way that you've come up with this concept, or this podcast, and then gone from beginning to end with this really nice, rich, surprising, like, again, and very fresh approach to what you're doing, right? Like, you must not ask a question at the end, as because and should it come out as a call out, the entire podcast will be then labeled call out, which will give you a 0 mark. Okay, so should you want to bring up questioning, it will be on the basis of the rhetorical approach to what you have already come to as a consensus throughout that podcast itself. So, for example, social media can be addictive and toxic. You are to take this article, find some kind of inspiration. You don't have to even reference the article, like, you don't even have to at all, right? I'm saying you spin off something about, let's say, your process, for example, of detoxing, like yourself, and the benefits that you have gathered, you know what I'm saying, to you, in this 1 week diary of you detoxing and finding the right, obviously, approach to it, and what have you gained from it, and at the end, you would like to bring up rhetorical questions should you want to. It's not necessary. Like I said, I'm going to tell you this now, that I will give you the mark for the question if you end. I'm saying if your podcast ends like, I'm saying, logistically, like, clear. In other words, like you've made a statement that allows us to question further. Do you understand? Like, so if you do that, I will give you the marks then, because you made the statement. The statement is based on the mixture between obviously opinion and fact that is comprised of numerous areas of research. Remember, you have a very short time. I think the limit here is 4 minutes, right? That you want to be able to construct a podcast from. And you would have to then again be able to like really build immediate a connection with a listener through your personality, as opposed to someone that is just blurting out facts. It becomes very boring. And then within the first 30 seconds, like, there's that switch off factor, and you're only going to be marked according to that switch off factor as well, right? So you can take another thing. Social media can be addictive and toxic. So, for example, how social media has destroyed like your closest friends, friendships. You understand? And then you can take us through a narrative, a little bit of a personal diary. You understand about how you are a stance away, and you avoid social media based on the fact of how like it has become so toxic within your own world that you've lost relationships that should have been otherwise for social media, like they would have still been um obviously going, because you've missed out on actual content. Individualism has taken a higher priority between you and your friends over like what really matters. I don't know. Do you understand? Like it could be indicative of you approaching how an older generation is supposed to be showing some kind of like role modeling based on their behavior on social media, and all you see from the very closest generation on and upwards. And you could give very good examples, you understand, of these people that have great talents, that are great in, I'm saying to you, like I'm saying to you, not motivation, influence. I don't want to say influences. I'm saying they are influences in their profession or whatever it is, and they've completely copped out to a two-dimensional world that has made you lost respect and made you find almost little to no role models to work with. Do you all understand what I'm saying in terms of like how to take the concept and spring something completely new from there? Any questions on that? Are you sure? Because again, as I say, I'm gonna mention again, I know this seems like a very far away. It's only a month and a half. It's less than a month and a half that you have to submit this. But I'm going to touch again right now on that formative one that you just submitted, right? There was ample time to ask a number of questions. You all seem to understand, like you said to me, that you understand it, but the marks are not great, because the thing is that like the majority of what was given wasn't really fully understood. Tell me if you understand what this is about, if you have any questions that can help you grasp this formative better. Yes, of course.
So I want to ask in term of like the question, when you
Mhm.
say we must have okay, let me get this straight. The
Yeah.
podcast is you alone having a conversation
Yes,
about social media can be addictive, and you obviously have to take the concept and then make create something new out of it, right?
yes,
So
yes,
in terms
yes.
of like the question, how do we dedicate, like, are you saying the questions can be rhetorical questions
Yeah.
that can like somewhere like be thought-provoking, if I may put
Yes.
it that way.
You can. I don't want you to. So I don't want you to push for it. Does it make sense? Because the thing is that when we listen to podcasts or radio, media, whatever it is, right? Like we are invested in it. Their process, the process that we move through, automatically the listener will ask a number of questions as we move along too. Do you understand? If yours is thought provoking enough and as question answered and allowed me to think further, I will give you the mark. Does that make sense? But I don't want you to look at this and say, I have to now must end and say like something like what like let's say very basic one would be like um you know uh, I want to just end by saying have a look at yourself, have a look at your own surroundings, have a look at the quality and kind of do a measurement on the quality of your connection to the real world around you, and ask yourself, like, am I disconnected or not? You see that it's a bit corny. Do you understand? Do you hear the corniness to end on such a kind of like a semi-dramatic like not? I would rather be like let's say restructure that and be like, okay, so definitely as what I want to say in closing to us and our social connections or loss of it, one would have to look around and really analyze maybe the closest relationships that you do have in your life, the effect and impact and obviously presence of social media within them in comparison to basically every other relationship that you have remastered because of the predominant nature of social media, and see and say to yourself, like where and when have I lost the plot in being able to connect with society around me and with the world around me, um, instead of compartmentalizing and moving forward into a more destructive space for myself and obviously like my mental, social, physical, and obviously so yeah, I'd say social standing in the future. Like that kind of statement, let's say you close that statement there. Like there was enough questioning in there. Do you understand? But it isn't constructed as a be or end all question. Does that make sense? That kind of makes sense?
Yes, so you basically say the question doesn't have to be forced. It just
Yes.
needs to be, you don't have to. Okay, I get you.
Okay. I'm glad. I don't want to push. I don't want to. I'm not pushing to say, do you get it? Can we move on? It's not about that. It's just about like you know like you have to just I want you to understand fully your options here. Do you understand? So let's say you do want to for whatever reason use the article. Like the article is only allowed to be used like as a reference to a certain point that you read in the article. You described what stood out for you, and then you went completely rogue. In other words, you went completely original on. So, for example, like I say, I'm just going to go back here. I don't know if this thing here now, let me just see if it allows me so that I can just quickly go. And then I just want to pull out, I'm not going to put it up on screen. You can just see what you can see right now is obviously the assignment. But I'm going to just take a certain point out of here. Like there's a quote here, okay, by Reese Cavallo, who is a mechanical engineer, freshman, okay, that says, yeah, I think social media has created a population in our society that is content with the kind of pseudo relationship, like they're not relationships, but they kind of fulfill enough of these neurological impulses that we can get by on, even though I don't think there's a real interpersonal thing that's happening there. So, for example, that quote alone is enough for you to jump onto many different bandwagons. So I'm gonna summarize that there. Basically, what he's saying is that through social media, and the more that we operate through there in terms of like the connections that we make, the conversations that we have that are kind of diluted, they're very convoluted as well. Means that they don't actually have any rich meaning or whatever it is. Like we fool ourselves, like we get what our brains consider like neurological contentness, so in other words, they're happy with it, like the brain is happy with like the concept of being interactive, but it is so far away from what the brain should be processing, because as neurological interaction. Do you understand? So if we're to use that again, like I say, just that one statement alone, what possibly like what eh, I'm going to go to aura. So you tell me something that would springboard of just that one comment that was made by this freshman engineer, so first year engineer. I'm not getting anything. Come on, you go ahead.
So can you please repeat the question, please?
I'm saying, like, I took that quote there, for example, which you're allowed to take. You're allowed to take, let's say, one aspect out of the articles also given. You understand? For you to be able to springboard something else. This quote states that, and this is from that first year engineer, that freshman engineer, says that people get what they get on a surface level, right, out of social media, which is basically your brain's capacity or need to want to interact, and then it banks what your superficial interaction is on social media as something that actually could matter. Do you understand? But the thing is that the brain actually doesn't develop any working skills from the interactions that you do bank from social media, because there isn't dimension, there isn't conflict. I'm saying to healthy conflict. There isn't an open awareness to want to listen and to be able to process, disintegrate information, and then obviously convey it. So what would you say? Like what comes up? What comes to mind? Anything from there that you could spin off as a podcast topic?
Yeah, so I'm not too sure. So
Yeah, but look, just say anything. Like, what does nothing of that make you think of anything else?
nah, sir, not right now. No.
Okay. All right. So Teddy, do you want to give it a go? Teddy, are you there? Are you back? Are you here?
I'm
Nothing.
here.
Oh, you there?
So
Good.
can
Oh yeah. So give me a go. Just give me anything that comes to mind.
I don't have anything at the moment. I'm still confused.
About what?
About the whole assignment, but then I'll read through the brief and then get back to you with the questions.
You sure I can't make things clear now for you?
Yeah.
Like anything clearer? Huh?
So also my connection is not stable, so
Okay.
I can't hear some part of the assignment.
Okay. All right. Look again. Okay. So so the next one is building a greener world takes a world of change. That is, yeah, that is a very broad topic. It could be obviously like it could be a biosymmetric. In other words, like we could measure it according to, like, I mean, it is environmental, and that can be very, very boring. You understand? Please don't go for very basic topics, like, for example, how we must recycle and do this and that and whatever for a safe environment, how you can be more your carbon footprint can be like a big change in a small change in a very big world, and why that matters. Like you must be provocative. A podcast, like, so you were measured on the fact that a podcast, you're allowed to say anything you want. Okay. Nowhere in this assignment does it actually say you cannot be explicit at all in terms of your approach or your opinion, because the thing is that, to be fair, to allow you to have that kind of the freedom and the obviously the massive large scope of what a podcast is defined to be these days in 2023, I cannot and I don't want to, like, I have to say to you, you are not allowed to speak of things that are explicit in nature or whatever it may be. Do you understand? So I'm not saying you at the very surface here, you're going to find it very difficult to find something controversial. But if you think just a little bit closer to, like, maybe a completely strong opinionated piece on how you're angry, for example, about I don't know, about your generation around you and how they do not even consider, they don't even know what the meaning of a carbon footprint is based on the actions. And you can give me an insider's point of view as to, like, what happens, let's say, when you guys go to parties, or let's say the way that I don't know, in any type of way that, let's say, there is a very big, like, maybe conversations even of how there might not be. I'm just assuming. I'm just saying things here. No consideration for, you could also give us a little bit more. You could go and say, like, this is you can go conspiracy theory for me. You understand what I'm saying? But don't build it on conspiracy theories that already exist, and just like you're, let's say, a copy and pasting stuff. But the thing is that, obviously, in terms of the ozone, like the ozone layers, it went from like getting smaller to getting bigger to getting smaller to getting bigger because of, obviously, COVID, etc., etc. But the way that it's changing its rift in terms of the sphere is having massive, like, not economic, environmental effects. You understand, that are I mean, you can use the podcast time to say, like three of the most surprising and not known, like, environmental catastrophes that have happened in the past month alone, based on the fact that there is a grayer instead of a greener world that we're on. Okay, please note that when you are labeling on SoundCloud, obviously the thing is, one, you need to copy and paste your SoundCloud link for me on your cover page. It has to work. I will not search for your name on I'm saying on SoundCloud. In other words, if, let's say, I click it and it says it doesn't exist, I'm not going to type in your name and surname. Like, it has to lead me to your, obviously, your SoundCloud page, your account. You're more than welcome to use any other audio, like, platform. In other words, you are allowed using Iona, you are allowed using Mixcloud, you are allowed using X, Y, and Z. There's so many available. Like, wherever you're finding that you have created a space for your profile itself, I'm saying your online profile, and you're allowed hosting, or, like, obviously, podcasts on there, you're more than welcome to give me that link, as long as I can, obviously, access it, and then again, obviously, play it. You understand? So I can assess it, right? Okay. So please note, let's go through the rubric. Negative marking will happen that means every time that rundown, right? So it's not a clock, please. The clock is one thing. This is now the prep. So the prep, but this is only the skeleton prep. Every time you get something in the wrong order, or it's marked incorrectly time-wise, you'll lose a mark until you don't have any more marks to lose. And then, obviously, there is the breakdown of the 5 each per. Let me just explain to you how the podcast is marked. Okay, you either get a really good mark or you get a really bad mark. Do you understand? There is hardly no reason, nor situation, nor podcast that is available that you'll get, let's say, a 5 out of 10. So you either get 7 to 10, or you're going to get 3 to 1. Okay, and that is based on the holistic nature of of the podcast itself, right? Remember, like I say, the opinion, the closing remarks, and the question, quote unquote, please say there, see that, and their closing remarks are good enough for me. Make sure they're not that if you are repeating stuff, you're repeating them in a way that's a more concise, more. So when we say concise, you've accumulated what you have said. You want to make big statements. You want to make statements that have people saying, "Oh, that's true. I just, or it's dramatic. It's a nice dramatic end." There are many different types of podcasts that you can do, right? So obviously there is it goes. So close that off there. And I come back here. So there are yes, Aura. Yeah, you had a question. You got your hand up.
Uh, so I wanted to ask, right, for the podcast question two, would it be
Yeah.
okay to have like maybe someone else in the podcast,
Oh,
like
like an interview.
interview someone,
Yeah, yeah,
or
yeah.
maybe just a statement and then say
No,
something
no.
after the statement?
No, I don't mind. No, you see that was going to be my next point. Good, thank you. Good question. So you can do anything you want. I would say a podcast is a podcast is non-definitive right now. So when I say non-definitive, there is no format we can say is one correct format. You understand? So if you want to go for an interview, make sure that it's a good, like obviously it's constructed well. You must introduce the podcast. You must obviously, like, you must understand it must not be radio. If it sounds like a radio segment, like you're going to fail. Okay, so this is why the assignment is super important, that you understand that this isn't just repeating how to do a radio link or how to do a content piece on radio. It's not. The entire environment, the entire mechanic, the entire, like I say, the ethos of a podcast is completely different to what you consider, let's say, prepping or creating for radio, right? Because of its volatile, unpredictable nature, and the fact that we have one way that we do radio, quote unquote. You understand? That's what we teach it to you. But there are countless ways to do podcasts. You understand? So you can do a documentary if you'd like. You understand? You can, again, yeah, the big ones are the narrative, it's the interviews, and it's the documentaries, that are, you understand what I'm saying to you, that are the big classifications or categories for these, for podcasts. But you then have categories. So then you can have religious and political and financial, and you can keep subcategorizing, even try to get somewhere to have more direction as to what it is that you want to do. Um, or I see your hand is still up. Do you have more questions?
So I don't know how to use it. I don't have any more questions. Thank you.
Okay, okay, all right. Anybody else before I get to the lesson?
Oh, sir.
Yes.
So when we're submitting question two, are we supposed to submit the SoundCloud links only, or do you want to say maybe a
No,
script of
no, no.
okay?
So it's. I always like to see a script. It's always nice because you understand, like podcasts, especially the narratives, and especially documentaries, have to be scripted. Also interviews have to be prepped. Do you understand? And you'll have a beginning and end that is scripted. Do you understand? Like, we want to be able to work with. So the thing is that your podcast must be edited. Do you understand? So the big, like a really big irritation is to listen to, like, a podcast that is recorded in someone's kitchen while people are walking by, and this and that, whatever it is, and that's really unprofessional and not of a third year standard at all. It's not of a tertiary standard at all. But like, you have to go and make sure that you are, like you have an edited professional sounding piece of that, like quality, like entertainment. You understand? At the end of the day, as well. which is, well, like I say, one way of being able to do it is obviously like rehearsing that well enough. You can't sound rehearsed as well. So we all, so for example, let's say when I do my podcast, they are narratives. Most of them are narratives. Half of them are interview based, right? So the narratives are scripted down to the full stop. Do you understand? But the thing is, my execution is completely natural. It's emotional. It's emotion driven. Do you understand? And so I know how to to execute a script. Yeah.
Okay, so thank you.
It does make sense, right? Okay, great. Okay. All right. Let me get into then today's lesson. And then if we're done there, we're going to be done there because I don't want to go further than that. We won't finish anyway if I go to another lesson. All right. Um, so so it's quite a longish lesson. Um, can you see that? So we're on lesson 26, coaches, leadership in radio and building winning shows. Okay. So if you've noted for the past however many lessons, there's been, I think, about 4 or 5 lessons or 3. We've been focusing on the on-air element, okay, of focusing your growth as a presenter, obviously doing the small do's and don'ts, and like, let's say, what's important in terms of like your benchmarks versus what, let's say, you can kind of switch around, like your links and whatever it is, and speaking about, let's say, one thought, one link, right? Just to do a little bit of revision, to now, like, being able to understand different aspects of, like, your growth as a leader. And remember, sorry, I just want to just cut this off here. Okay, so your growth as a leader. So when I say leader, like leader, again, we always do refer of, like, you as a program leader, as a station leader, but for you to be a leader in your own context, you understand, is super important, because, like, you are in charge of this show and of your own growth through your entire career. And the thing is, there's no manager that is going to babysit you ever, whether at whatever level, campus, community, commercial, international, doesn't matter. Like, the whole point of an online presenter is to be able to have trust in the fact that they are able to manage, like, the craft and obviously the space in their entirety, so that you can, and the station can, carry on with what needs to be done around that last point of entrance. I would say the jock is always the last point of anything, because all the sales that have been made come to the show. All the PR that is being made is reflected by that show. And, like, let's say, the management, everything that you are managing, all the departments, is accumulated by the presence of that show in its entirety. Anything that the sound engineer does in terms of imaging is reflected on the show. The music, let's say, that is compiled and that is balanced and that is obviously procured and whatever it may be, is played on that show. You are the last point of what needs to be done. And so a lot of responsibility falls, all the responsibility falls on you to be able to have the follow through and obviously have it in a successful. You have to like, you got to bullseye that thing, that show every single time. So if we look at the Dreyfus model of how you grow as a presenter, as a broadcaster, right? Like, there are different stages. Like, for example, right now you're in the novice stage, because I need to tell you exactly what you do, and you will go and you will do it with no decisions to be made. This will last in this particular case because the Boston environment is accelerated, because your marks are dependent. I'm saying your assessments are dependent on your growth. And so let's say, for example, that might have lasted a couple of months longer in a community station like yours will last only a couple of weeks, because maybe even 2 weeks, because you have to start immediately making your own decisions, which is in the advanced beginner stage, right? So I need to allow you more freedom and more trust that you can make the right decisions on air, but you must still, well, you're going to have a lot of questions, because and a lot of, you're going to require still a lot of guidance, because you will be hitting a number of unknown areas. Everything will be new to you, and so you would like to also double check where you are with someone that has a lot more experience, i.e. me, so that I can give you the right yeses or nos, and you can go and say, okay, cool, I kind of know and I'm confident on how I'm going to do it from here on outwards. So competent is something that you only start becoming when you're actually borderlining your commercial radio gig. So you live in this very long stage of advanced, beginner, and competent through your campus community service, community service that you do. And that lasts a really long time, because to be able to really polish up those different areas of the craft and different skill sets, and then obviously find how you will then, do you understand what I'm saying to you, at the end of the day, pull that together as a personality and as an independent, as an individual. Like, that takes a really long time, a lot of trial and error, a lot of courageousness to try new things, and to know that you could fail. And this is a live medium, so that kind of failure is immediately reflected, and it's got immediate results. I'm saying cause and effect, but you need to go through that stage. You understand? You'll create your own routines. You start really behaving very listener centric. So the listener is at the very forefront of what matters to you, and that's what you really like. That's what you really want. Proficient means, like, it's the more freedom you offer, the more you can expect, the more they'll produce. So we really take a back seat on as managers, and allow this particular talent to start being able to really sell the product of radio, you understand, and that show, and then solves any aspect of that show, and all those other aspects, you understand, and those like I say, counter or sub counter parts to obviously the audience, like in a more holistic manner. Do you understand? So we get these really great, very unique, very robust talents that exist within the stage. And then to become an expert is actually someone that understands the business, but also puts the business first. Okay. So still great presenter on air, perfect presenter on air, really has all the qualities that you really want, but is executing them with a business bird's eye view. So they know about sales. They are involved in sales and PR. They're very equipped competently. I'm saying with technical, for example, they run their own, let's say, businesses and brands quite easily. They represent a lot of, let's say, of what the station would like externally. So they'll be the ones that are selected, that go out and all the faces for, etc., etc. Because the thing is that the station entrusts them with the fact that they are not only looking out from one perspective, which is within a competency level, but at an expert level. Okay. So you can go have a look at the skills acquisition model in terms of like a video. So what I've just explained, there's a little link there as well that you can go have a look at. Right. Okay. So let's have a look. Are there any? I'm just gonna just buzz on by here. Any questions so far? Fine. All good. Okay. Cool. I'm just gonna bounce in back here. Right. Okay. So so new inexperienced talents, or those limited ability can be managed with more direct input. The thing is that if you leave a talent at any one point throughout their growth with no direct input, stuff that needs to be insinuated. In other words, like they got to kind of like they're playing guessing games because you weren't clear enough. Anything that is other than like kind of like direct, like hands-on management. Do you understand? That is proactive, that is helpful, will result in something that is going to be bad, right? There is a teacher, there's a student. There's always someone that should know more than you, and you should learn from them until you become that person that teaches somebody else, right? So if a talent has a good feel for the role, what is expected, obviously how to grow it, like I say, leadership should allow them to follow certain courses of action, right, through certain persuasive methods. For example, like let me set certain scenarios up and see where you think is best to go. What will you come up with? What would you like to do? Like I say, when I say proactively creative, means you're going to try and create magic moments on air. This encourages participation in the process, because the thing is, once someone is like they're like, I mean, that, if they are supported, support, man, support in the workplace is everything. Like, if there is a manager that doesn't know how to support, or expects that an employee of theirs should create their own self-support, like, that person should be out of a job, because the point of a manager is to support, and show that, let's say, this person is hired because they've got a certain amount of talent that exceeded every other person in the selection process. They're here for a reason. They're special. They're unique, and they can give me something that I can turn into money. Right. So that gives the manager more incentive, even more incentive, that to support, like the growth, the decisions, and obviously, again, kind of those critical moments in an employee's career, right? Experienced talent often responds to strategic approaches, right? So they don't do baseline stuff. They want to think about more. Let's try something new. Let's push this a little bit further. Let's go out and try this. That's what an experienced talent will do, because the thing is, they've tried and they've conquered everything else. So the goal of managing talent is really, at the end of the day, to create a relationship with. You will not be able to achieve any one of these things or anything more than that if you don't understand the person that you are dealing with. And so this manager becomes a chameleon, for his or her staff. Do you understand? Why do we do that specifically in talent-based industries? When I say talent-based, I'm saying to creatively talent-based industries like our own here, because each person's talent, like I say, is is what equates money here. So if we look at another industry, as I've said before, so let's say a more corporate industry. When I say more corporate business, so like I say, like your financial markets, and industries and sub-industries, like, we don't care about your personality. It does not matter. Your competency is measured on your outcomes, your ability to reach outcomes at an accurate level. Do you understand? Whereas here, we have to care about the person's personality, because the richer and the more confident and the more inspired and the more grown that personality is, the better we are going to be money wise at the end of the day. Okay, so let's look at some different aspects of, like, how to be a great leader at the end of the day. The one thing is, and you gotta ask yourself, I mean, like, at the same time as we go through, where you're mirroring yourself, where you're seeing yourself, where you can kind of like measure, if you have been able to or can measure yourself against any of these. Both parties are committed to being honest. Okay, so respect. How do you respect someone? By showing them um, honesty. Like, the one way you disrespect someone is by being dishonest. Like, because the thing is that you're saying that this person is less than the deserving nature of truth. You understand? So the thing is also, To respect someone is to share, and to also to like allocate success where it is necessary, right? To not go take, let's say, like the spotlight where it wasn't earned, for example, for you as a manager, like it was actually a group effort or a personal effort, and so on and so forth. We want to show and be able to show our talent that we admire, respect, and obviously hold them in great value. Realistic expectations, like a leader needs to be able to set realistic expectations so that they can be met, because things that to set up your employee for failure is terrible management, right? So you've got to be able to measure the competency, the growth point that this particular person is at, but then also say to them, okay, the next best thing for you to do and for me to help you to do this is X, Y, then Z. Partnership. You must now decide. Like, this isn't an individual's game. Like, this is a team effort. So both the manager and the person involved, whoever it is, will achieve the goals together. And if there is a loss, it is definitely partly both people or persons, like I say, fault, because like either the manager wasn't present enough, they didn't give the right let's say direction, or they did but didn't, like they might be only be 5%, let's say, accountable, and the presenter might be 95% accountable, but both are involved in the process, so at some point or other. So they were under your obviously under your let's say like obviously a department such controls such whatever it is, and so a manager must take accountability at some with some other percentage. Okay. Honesty, right? So there is nothing worse than obviously someone that lies to you, right? Okay, but don't get involved as well in internal politics or jealousy. Like, so seeing someone, if you can see someone is more talented than you, then you are in trouble. Finished. That's it. But the thing is that your last page of your career? No. Like, you must note that people are stronger. There will always be someone that's stronger than you, and so you have to focus on your own growth and your own obviously talents and your own, like I say, growth of talents, to be able to be anything that is a formidable force to be dealt with in this industry, right? So support. Okay, you may not have all the answers, but must be willing to help find answers as a manager. You understand? Don't be that person that makes up lies or makes up some kind of rubbish. You can just say, listen, like, I need to get back to you on what it is that you're asking. It's something that I need a little bit more consulting on. I need to, like I say, consult other departments or other expert professionals. I'll get back to you, but we'll set a date and a time, and I'll get back to you at this time, right? So you become dedicated and also become responsible, and also want to be the person that knows more about stuff that they actually don't know more about. Okay, interests. So listening to comments, suggestions, opinions. So in other words, valuing like your staff's input, and not saying, oh, just because I'm the station manager, like I know better than you all the time, every single time, right? Okay, and then facilitate growth. So you need to also be able to, one, know when, let's say, your team needs growth and needs training and needs help and assistance to be able to continue forward. Okay. I'm going to go back. Just want to see, are there any questions? Any questions at all? Nothing? Okay, I hope you're finding this interesting. Okay. So when we talk about ego, right? So this is also, if we have to look, I always say to you, healthy egos, you cannot operate within entertainment without a healthy ego. Healthy ego means confidence. So the confidence is being able to know, I am good, I can do, I will do, and this will be great, whatever it is, right? But not being arrogant about Like, of course I'll be great. Of course no one's better. Of course you can't touch me. That type of thing, right? And the thing is that management is half the reason as to why talents have unhealthy egos, because they go and they treat them better than the rest of their lineup. You understand? They go and they will favor them in any kind of way. Do you understand? They will stop listening to themselves as managers and only do what, let's say, the bigger egos, these bigger, unhealthier, arrogant egos that are demanding, whatever it is. So they start to try and people please when they should be actually were doing their job at the end of the day. Many different ways egos are, like I say, infiltrated with toxic natures. So, for example, one personality might get a really big TV gig. So let's say they host idols, or they host this, or they are a main actor in this film, or whatever it is. It brings them a lot of attention, a lot of obviously like clout and attraction, whatever. And then they allow that to they bring that into the station presence, which is not allowed, man. Like the thing is that, well, you come in to do a job, like, and so you must come do that job without the need or the baggage slash, obviously baggage is the opposite of, but you don't use all those other achievements, external achievements, to allow your personality to piggyback on, right? You must come in and be a professional, I'm saying, and allow us to like, let's say, quantify like your obviously like your value based on how well you are doing your job on, like, on air as a personality. As absurd as it sounds, some managers even work against their own personalities out of fear that they become too popular. So we had that. I had that. I'm saying not I, but we. Like at Tux, even though Rian he was really a great a station manager. We were not, it was not, you were not allowed to be alive and be applying for a job at a different station, like let's say a commercial station. Everything had to be done like without him knowing, because he saw it as a sign of like treason, you understand? And if he somehow caught on to some kind of like sniff that you are applying at another station, like he would fire you. He would fire you, and he would make an example of you to say, like, I've given you like this opportunity, and you're here basically just to piggyback and leave us in the lurch. You understand? Which is really kind of childish. But the thing is that at that point in his career, he was maniacal in that way, and it wasn't fair to us, because the thing is, again, like, we did have to work in the shadows to be able to apply for our commercial jobs. And the thing is, most of us got our commercial jobs when Rian was fired, because we were allowed to just openly, again, move. I'm saying to create our demos, put something cool together, and do exactly what community stations are meant to do. They're supposed to grow talent, and it's supposed to let you go so that new talent is allowed to be obviously mentored, taught, and grown, so that they can obviously then land up in commercial again as well. Okay. All right. So here's the exercise. So I'm going to give you 20 minutes to do this using the drive, and then you're going to come back. I'm just going to pause the recording. So using the Dreyfus model, describe what you would proactively do to graduate from a novice level jock, which you are right now, to an advanced beginner when you start your career in radio, right? List at least 5 points describing your activities, your actions, and your behavior, right? So quickly take a snapshot of this. Actually, I'm just going to leave it up. I'm going to leave it up here. I just want to quickly pause this recording. Well, I'm going to have to stop it. It's fine. It's fine. I'm just going to do a part one, part two.